I have attained secret cheat codes and secret codes, at which I could pick up your thoughts. The controversy between positive and negative has gained its dominance through the very gradual process which we are unaware of. I came to think about this when I also thought of the repulsion law. The repulsion law under which we are pretty much fond of using in our daily basis, but the background concept which we are unaware of. Looking at this law with much proximity and its granularity, I came to create an idea that it is either we are pushed to a positive or negative side, but we cannot be on both. Think of a guy who has made a space shuttle and has been able to make an achievement of going to the moon. This guy has also got the thought creep, the thought that arises as an addition, after he has accomplished his shuttle creation. After reinforcing the shuttle with various capabilities, later it's endowed with more features than it had on completion of its construction. The guy has already accomplished his construction, but he also finds that there's something more he could do to make it perfect. The initial startup process was from scratch, but later on, he gains more knowledge on how to improve his shuttle. The thought creep are the thoughts that arise from the fact that he has accomplished his task and he is therefore to perfect his own creation. These thoughts are bound to be generated by the mind after it is subjected into intensive thinking. These come from the very unconscious state, since those were not his initial thought. Think also of a computer expert. It's true to say that this guy was even once computer illiterate, but due to the abundance of the laws of nature, he has attained his excellence through the very law of nature. He studies what pertains to computer until he attains a computer literacy, and later on information worker, and lastly information intelligence. I also came to realize that the law of nature does not only keep a certain state in existence, but also increase the fancy or the rhythm of the state. I can call this the hypnotic rhythm. This is the state that is as a result of having conformed to the conditions which it is subjected into, and also increase the rhythm which it keeps the process continuous, and also strengthen the state from drifting. So the hypnotic rhythm does not only cause the things to conform into a certain state, but also prevent them, or make them hard to recover from the state which it had attained. This hypnotic effect has led to the very states that I am going to state, to enter into a hypnotized state. After the state has been achieved, we put our hands in the pocket, since it comes hard for the process to recover its initial state. Conditions, traits, and laws and rules, which are contrary to the nature, have utilized this state of nature, the hypnotic rhythm. There was a need for me to have elucidated this. In order to bring contrast, the very prevailing states which are contrary to each other. I have come to discern various classes, the superficial and the ones who make use of the very information that is available, and choose on what to follow. These guys are so adept to group ideas as positive or negative, but in both cases, they act as the very drivers which boost their state of excellence. If you think this is hard, you are right, because this involves drifting and recovery to the very two warring states and ideas. No clue is available as a manual to follow what must be done in response to the two conflicting states. It's only the frame of mind that is gonna keep one to the positive side, when otherwise he has learned the trick, and the law of positivity has a greater effect than the negativity. If you think that makes little sense, then I'm gonna help you get a perfect standpoint. I'm not gonna drift from the point of discussion today, and the title for the day is Conversation with the Antediluvians. I am going to give the sample conversation with a guy that seemed to rebel the Bible by bringing theories of what might make the Bible a mere fable and some conspiracy instrument that the white used to make a difference in class and use and manipulate people in every way, and hence taking dominance over the Africans. I never had the answer as to why it's only in this fab hour of Africans when some of the African people contribute to the very making of the Bible. And if it was to slow down the Africans down, then what does activate the hidden powers of Africans? This has to be wrong from the first place. Let's think of a guy who had made a space shuttle. The idea behind an antediluvian could be, this shuttle is not even shaped in this manner I like. This shuttle is not even fast enough. This is the code at which you could pick your insinuations that, after all, the guy has made his shuttle and it's working. So any commentary arises from the fact that people are so attached to their ideology, and instead of appreciating the fact that the guy made a real world object, the very tone of criticism makes it to identify him as a negative person. And for sure, the antediluvian cannot make anything by the going forth of criticism. Quite interesting. Oh, I have found myself also criticizing the works of the criticizers. Wow, quite interesting. I came to believe in the Bible and found out that there is power in having faith and believing that these things are written for our own good. The very fathers who were inspired with the Spirit, they wrote it that we might believe that it is true. With the many examples that have been provided, it's clear to see that, after committing their faith to the Bible, men could be charged with powers. Their thoughts would control what is around them. They not only sought to do good, but also their authority over evil and the repulsion from evil, gave most of the very men, their excellence of righteousness, purity. Jesus upon the trial by the devil, rebuked the devil, by resisting him from his countenance. Matthew chapter 4 verse 4 says, Man shall not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds from God's mouth. Matthew 4 verse 7, Thou shalt not tempt thine Lord. The idea of opposition was brought about by the very great serpent as accounted in the Bible. The devil, after the repulsion, has entered to the state of hypnotic rhythm and is able to change and lure the minds of the very ones who have not got the faith that was later on delivered as the first faith. The conversation between the woman and the devil was, based upon some plan the devil devised that could in no wise be discerned by Eve. Genesis 3 verse 1 records, that, the devil asked Eve if God had said, Hath not God said that you should eat of every tree of the garden? Verse 5 says, The day that you eat thereof, then shall your eyes be opened and you shall be as gods, knowing evil and good. The devil is all-knowing. Elsewhere in the Bible, we are admonished to resist the devil from our countenance and he shall flee from us. He knows the knowledge with which he is using to lure the woman into the consumption of the fruit which is forbidden. This is kinda a gridlock and deadlock, such that, when we engage into the conversation, we get into the gridlock of believing in what the devil tells us to be right. This state shall dominate until Jesus interposes. Your eyes shall be opened seems to have some fancy, a confectioned expectation in line with the devil's promise. The promise here happens to be fulfilled but in a manner that we ask, is this the opening of eyes we really wanted? There must be a discrepancy underneath the very statement. Some truth is mixed with evil, only which is discerned by a spirit which is subject to God. All the minds that have been corrupted to this sheer statement of falsity will be able to support it from the devil's standpoint. Engaging the mind of a partaker of the laws and the righteousness with which the law is applied, gives the hypnotic rhythm a task to retrieve the nature into its initial state of meaning, before the trampling of the law and after. But we are not left in darkness how these two statements have made a contrast and truth has been demystified, unraveled. Elsewhere in the Bible, we find Paul having to warn on people to disengage their minds from that which seemed to have got the love of God taken away. He says, in Colossians 2 verses 21, Touch not, test not, handle not, which are all to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men. To also keep the Bible pure, in regards to Jesus being the finisher of faith, Paul admonishes us to keep away doctrines which are not of Christ. These, taking away and corrupting the ones which are of Christ. It's proven from the Bible that apostasy increases exponentially with the increase in knowledge. Not all knowledge has to be believed, as we have seen, most could be having devices which Satan might mix people's minds to turn them into a gridlock of his own and therefore putting them in slavery, utilizing the hypnotic rhythm. Daniel chapter 12 verse 4 records, But O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end, may shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Verse 10 says, Many shall be purified and made white, and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand. But the wise shall understand.